Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment of the weekend show. The federal government recently approved the establishment of the 75 billion naira Nigerian Youth Investment Fund. Thousands of young Nigerians are excited about the innovation, believing it could reduce the increasing unemployment rate, which has been worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. However, most of them are ignorant of how to access the investment fund and the purpose the fund was actually designed to address. Today, we'll be discussing protocols to access these funds and many more. Joining us today, we have
Emmanuel Otori, the Managing Partner, Market Advantage Consulting. Welcome to the Weekend Show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Emmanuel, okay, tell us, what are the protocols young people have to go through in order to access this funds? I remember when the presidency announced this 2 weeks ago, a lot of people said, free money for young people, but it's not quite free money, it's actually a loan. So tell us the protocols that they have to follow to access these 75 billion naira.
Okay. I think it's actually very important to begin to talk about the youth presently, because if the youth makes up majority of the population in Nigeria, we have over 200 million people in the country today. We have more than 70% of them in the active work group as young people. These young people are between 18 to 35. And if they make the active work group in Nigeria, it then means that we need to create something substantial for them. Now, the issue that Nigeria-owned SMEs have faced over a long period of time is the issue of funding. There are lots of young people, you come across them with ideas. For example, the young guy that just sang on this very show. Now, he could have that talent. What if he has this talent but doesn't have the money to produce, because it costs a lot to go into music production? Now, not just talking about music production. When you're done producing, you have to distribute. That's the business aspect of what he calls his talent, and that's why he needs a talent manager. Now, if this guy does not get the funding to put himself out there, he will probably have this talent and not have money in his pockets. And that will make him go broke. So the president, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, came up with the idea alongside the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, and then they launched a 75 billion naira credit facility in order to help young people to take their talents away from talents into what we call skills. People don't pay for skills, people pay for talent. The best the guy who just sang could get is for people to call him for shows. But he's not going to make enough money. He's going to only make money if he has albums that can go all over the world. And making an album costs lots of money. Now, for the people who think it's free money, there has never been any free money anywhere. In fact, on the Growth and Employment Project of the World Bank that I worked on some years ago, the grant, despite the fact that it's a grant, you still had to be trained. Your business had to be audited in order to qualify you for the funding. If your business doesn't qualify, you don't get the funding, despite the fact that it's a grant. You don't have to repay a grant, but then you have to qualify. One of the requirements is that you have to be 18 to 35 years to access the Nigeria Youth Investment Fund. Of course, you have to be a Nigerian. Then you have to have talents and ideas. I think this fund is different because this very fund is willing to take people from the scratch just with ideas, because it's quite risky to invest in what you call an idea. An idea hasn't been tested before. We're not sure whether it's going to succeed or fail. And the CBN has had lots of people defaulting in the repayment of loans. And so I believe that there will be procedures in place when it becomes full scale and people can then access the portal. The portal hasn't been released yet. People can access the portal and apply, and then of course they can get access to this funding. But most importantly, the goal of the project is to empower 500 people yearly for a period of 3 years.
Okay, so I have a question. Most times, the informal sector contributes a lot to Nigeria's economy, and
Yes.
most of this is fueled by young people, mostly entertainment, which is music, movies, and then technology and
Yes.
other forms of entrepreneurship. But as a young person, we realize that most of what we see as innovative is what in some places the government would see as morally, the people in power see as morally wrong. So for instance, some of the things we call entertainment, which pays a lot of bills, employs a lot of people, they could start a business and the next day there's a new regulation of government law which shuts them down.
Yes.
And so how are there consultations with young people in different sectors to understand the needs of the young people who will be getting these funds?
Yes.
Or are we going to go back the same route of, oh, if it's not technology or agriculture, then it is in business? How do we ensure that we are pushing and driving innovation
Yes.
while we enable young people with this investment fund? How do we get that balance?
Okay, the federal government has actually made available 11 different interventions in terms of funding, microcredit facilities for different companies and SMEs to access. One of those is for the pharmaceutical industry. One of those is for the dairy industry. Another one is for agri, the Anchors Borrowers Program, and then different loan facilities that has been made available. But the Nigeria Youth Investment Fund is not one of the 11.
Okay.
In fact, this is novel because it's happening for the first time, and we can actually say this Youth Investment Fund, we can call it a youth bank, because the youth, we've been talking about the youth as the leader of tomorrow, but we haven't made available an inroad for them to actually become the leaders. And I think if the Ministry of the Youth and Sports and then the federal government through the presidency is beginning to see reasons for us to have a dedicated funding for youth to upskill their talents, I think this is something that's happening properly. Now, for the things you've talked about, we're typically Africans. And there are things that you would want to start as a business in Nigeria that people would say this is not culturally permitted. I know someone who is an investor and wants to start a strip club in Jabi, in one of the hotels. He wants to convert the hotel to a strip club because the hotel isn't making enough money. He then figures as a business person that if he converts his hotel to a strip club, it will make more money. But then you understand the kind of environment we're in. People are going to come to him with religious bias to tell him, we don't do this, we don't do that. That doesn't mean that people do not even do worse than that in the closets. But for it to become business, people don't want to accept it. Now, this very person had to kill the idea because even if you're operating as a strip club, you can't put that out there for people to see. Secondly, there is what I call creative destruction. Creative destruction is happening presently because of COVID-19. We used to have delivery by bikes and then delivery of different amenities. But right now, drones can make this delivery happen. But how many drone delivery services have we seen in Nigeria? Now, the people who want to operate drone delivery services will have to go through the process as if they want to operate an airplane to...
Yes, because I know it costs about 500,000 naira to ideally get a license to operate a drone. But
yes.
While we have this conversation, we have another guest online.
Okay.
Ismaeel Ahmed is a senior special advisor to the president and also a member of the APC board. He also is part of the APC CARETAKER committee. Hello, Ismaeel. Good morning.
Hello, how are you? I can hear you.
Fine, thank you. Okay, so we're talking about the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund, which the Federal Executive Council under the President has approved. And we're looking at how it would actually have impact on young people. And my question to you is, in most cases, we have seen a lot of things being shared based on geopolitical zones or states of federal character. Do you feel a fund like this is useful if it goes round, or if the best of the best are selected and empowered with it?
Well, thank you very much for having me. First of all, I think that we are in a country where there's a lot of cynicism and distrust, especially if government rolls out any program. Because we deal with usually the politics and polity of identity or where you come from or how you feel, the kind of language you speak. I think the drafters of the Constitution thought it wise to give it some sort of balance by including the federal character enshrined in the Constitution. So, in dealing with anything that has to do with the federal government funds, and it has to be appropriated by the National Assembly, and to do that, I think there should be some sort of balance, not necessarily balance, but there should be some sort of understanding of inclusion of giving a lot of people from all parts of the country the opportunity to participate in it. So I think there should be some sort of an arrangement where everyone from any part of the country would have a slot for people to reach out. But it's a loan, ultimately it's a loan. It's a voluntary loan. We cannot, the government cannot force you to take a loan. So, for example, if we set aside a certain spot for a particular state, and nobody in the state wants to take a loan, you can't force it on people. You have to give it to people who are available who want it.
Yes. Ismaeel, sorry to interject. Ismaeel, can you hear me? Sorry to interject. I know the plan is that 500,000 youths will access or have access to this loan between 2020 and 2023. And the loans will range from about 250,000 to about 50 million naira. In terms of selecting these people, because you've clearly elucidated that it should be accessible to youths across the 36 states of the nation and the FCT. But in accessing this loan, for people from the rural areas, youths from the rural areas, and youths living in the city who have access to the internet and this information technology, how are you going to put communication mechanisms in place to ensure that there's an equitable distribution and access of information to these loans across board?
I think the Minister of Youth and Sport has already detailed how that is going to be. He said we're not only going to wait for people to come to us, there will be people sent out of the field to go and tell and kind of advertise the product and tell people that there is this fund and if you have a viable idea. So we're not only relying on people who can access the internet, we're going to reach out to local communities and rural areas to have people who have ideas of going businesses and people who don't have a push to get them from one point to another, for them to be able to grow their business and probably even hire people. The Ministry of Youth and Sports said they're going to go out and have field officers who are going to do that. So that's the one part of reaching out to people. So I think they are developing different strands and multiple methods of approach to see how they can get to people as quickly as possible. Having said that, I think there will also, at the back of it, we all realize that there must be some sort of a balance or spread in how you do these things, especially when government, when the funds belong to government, so that everybody can get the buy in there. So I'm sure the ministry will find a way to
Awesome.
before they roll out the program.
All right. Thank you so much, Ismaeel. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for joining us on today's program. That's all the time we have. Do follow us on social media at Weekend Show NG on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, keep practicing social distancing, washing your hands, and taking good care of your mental, emotional, and physical health. God bless you.